Good afternoon and welcome to TalkSports, our weekend program, which is, of course, the Saturday Sports Special. And as indicated, it's Saturday where we'll be hoping to speak about some netball, some volleyball, and probably I would see if by chance we can get in some cricket. I know, folks. It's not the sort of news we're expecting for West Indies cricket fans in particular. And certainly it wasn't any intention to talk about cricket on this program, but, I am certain that West Indies cricket fans are not just disappointed, but in some instances they're saying feeling very disgraced, It was a very disappointing performance from the West Indies after losing to Scotland in the opening match and barely getting past Zimbabwe, and then Ireland, rubbing, salt into the wound of West Indies cricket. Well, we'll wait to hear what has to be said from quite a bit of fans, okay? But let me let you know that the Americas World Cup Qualifier tournament in netball, that is continuing in Jamaica this weekend. The last few matches being played, and we're hoping to speak about Grenada's performance in the tournament. 2 spots up for grab basically, because Jamaica, though the host, they already qualified, and the 2 spots up, Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados grabbing those spots for the World Cup. They head into South Africa for the World Cup along with Jamaica. So that's it. But we're hoping to get an assessment of Grenada's performance. And we're speaking with the former coach of Grenada, who is also a former coach of Jamaica, and who is also a member of the commentary team in Jamaica. And therefore we'll get an assessment, not just of Grenada, but of the entire tournament per se. That's one. And then we look at volleyball. We have a Grenadian who is the head of the women's volleyball coach, volleyball program, women's volleyball at Medgar Evers College in New York. And we'll, get a sense of volleyball and the sport of volleyball, and what are some of the plans that this coach have for Grenada, or homeland, and the opportunities and possibilities for many Grenadians, female in particular, who will be able to participate. So in a moment, I can tell you that in a moment, we'll go over to Jamaica. It seems as if we'll be probably remote. As soon as the mic is off, Obi, as soon as your mic is off, when I say off, you're muted a bit. As soon as you're on mute, I'll have you up, and let's get a couple, because what it is that Obi has to, and in fact, she probably is on her way already to the commentary for this weekend matches. So let me, without wasting much time, let me introduce Obi. Yeah. Obi, right. Yes, Obi is there with us now. Obi, it's nice seeing you once again.
Yes, thank you. You too. And thanks for having me. I'm actually in my car. I'm at the venue. So, so I'm actually having to do it in my car.
Right. And I do have, as I indicated, that you getting ready to get to the commentary. So you spare us a few minutes. First of all,
Yes.
Obi, as I introduced you, I did indicated that you were formerly a coach of Grenada, but you also coached Jamaica. You also played for Jamaica, and not just netball. You played basketball as well, okay?
Yes.
National basketball. So, but Obi, let's look at the Americas qualifying tournament. Before we go into actually look at Grenada's performance, let's get a sort of summary of so far And barring Jamaica, because Jamaica already qualified, and you have been doing commentary on most of the matches being played. What is your assessment of the quality of netball in the region at that level?
Well, to be honest, and not to take anything away from anyone, it's it's not what it used to be. First thing, it's I expected more. However, throughout this tournament, I've actually seen all the teams improving. So what that says, in the beginning, you can tell that these players haven't played for a while. Like haven't played any major tournaments. So as the days goes by, they have been improving, and it says that if we have more of these tournaments, then the level will come back to where it was. Because right now the African region has surpassed us. So we need to get back into it, and by doing that, we have to have more of these competition that keeps us, competitive, and let us and keep gets us more acquainted with what's going on, and that includes like the rules of the game, how the game is being played, how you work your substitution, that kind of thing. So a lot of the teams they are so young. Some are young within the team. Some are not even I mean, don't know what this level of play means or what it looks like. So some of them are just like in awe. But it tells what it tells me they are willing to learn, and they are willing to take from what they are seeing and what they are experiencing and say, hey, we got to step up our game. And that's really what you want.
You are happy to see the United States playing, even though they have some Caribbean players. You would have seen Ansel Langain, for example, from Grenada, and there are others from
Yes.
other Caribbean nations. But as you indicated, started off a bit shaky, but the improvements came on along the way.
Yes, and it shows in the score. USA, the Cayman has one game. So normally years ago, the Cayman are always the team at the bottom, and they have made improvements. USA too, even though they always have a lot of Caribbean players in their team, they normally struggle with the synergy. This time around, you could tell that they do struggle somewhat, but they're kind of putting it together. Which unfortunately the tournament is almost ended. So it just goes to show, they spending more time together, giving them more opportunity to play at a tournament at this level. Then I think, we're in a good place.
Yeah, before I go on to the individual countries in particular and Grenada in that thing, it was good to see in one match in particular, I saw male umpires. There were only male umpires for that particular match. What you think about, male involvement in officiating? We know there are no male tournaments, for example, male playing, but to the point where they are officiating. What's your view on that? Do you think it's good for the game? Tell me what you think about it, Obi.
Well, Bascom, it's been a while. It's not now. Even when I played, you had male umpires. So it's something that what it does. It forces the female to get on top of their game. I don't think it's a gender thing. I think just whomever is interested, whomever goes through the lens to get themselves ready at that level. And I don't have a problem with it because as long as when they come to the table to do their work, it's in line with what the sport itself needs. So you'll see the fitness of the men and just like the female. But I don't have anything. It's not the first. It's been there for quite some time. Quite some time. And a lot of male have done huge big games like grand final, like final of a world championship, all the different, and if I can go back, I remembered mm, I can't remember. I don't want to say give it wrong information, but there've been a lot of male umpire doing the finals in whether the Commonwealth Games or a World Championship.
Okay then. Obi, you coached Grenada. You were coach for Grenada's national team, and for a while. probably about 3 years, I think. Okay, and one of the tenets of your coaching has to do with the physical fitness of the players, and we have seen that in these sort of tournaments. As we will say, the rough and tough of the Jamaicans, for example, and we are seeing that some nations, they are putting focus into the physical fitness of their competitors. Your assessment of Grenada's participation, yes, they may have a match or two remaining, but we know that that is just, what we'll say. Well, yeah. That's just for the record books, okay?
Honoring the fixtures.
yeah, as you say, honoring the fixture. Yeah, but what you make of Grenada's performance at this tournament, that's qualifying tournament?
Well, and on paper is one, on court is another. Um, I thought they had a great chance of qualifying. More so because I thought when I looked at Barbados and Trinidad, I thought they were a bit vulnerable, lesser Trinidad to a lesser extent. And I'm not taking anything from anyone, but just to let you know how I see it. However, when you look at Grenada team this time around, it doesn't look like they have worked for a long time together. And even though a lot of the players are returnees from when I was there coaching, you still need that synergy because you have to remember the game has evolved. A lot of things has happened possibly since the last time they played back in 2019 when we played in Wales for a series. And they didn't look the fit type that they needed to be for this tournament because it's difficult now. It's a lot of banging and there's a lot of physicality. So your body has to be in a certain shape to be able to withstand that on court. And then the combination that I thought players were playing outside their position, but then that could be a decision made by the coach. I'm not sure what her thoughts are in terms of putting that team together. And so, and for me, if you do not have a lot of time with a team, then you want to kind of play them in their strongest position before you probably look to explore other options. And I'm not sure if that option two was tried out. So that in itself take their strength away with what they're very good at. And so this is kind of the result. They played Bar- what was it Barbados first, Trinidad first. That was their first loss. And it was a good to a point, but then you saw that the Trinidad was physical. They weren't able to keep up with Trinidad, and again, I thought players were playing in position that they didn't have experience in. So when you look at Caroline Alexander, who is a shooter, she was at the goal attack at one point, and in games like those, goal attack they require different kind of skill to play that game, and so she wasn't really effective there. Renisha was at the goalkeep, which is a new position for her. You can use her at times, like you'd say a different match, say like a not a tougher match, just to give her. But when you have to play against experienced shooter, you kind of need your experienced defenders. And Shakira, who joined the team when the team got here, that too was a bit of a disadvantage because she didn't really have time to work with the core that is there now. So they are pretty disadvantaged, but then I still think had they been a certain, if they were able to keep up with these teams, then collectively, and that's collectively, some were, some could have, some were able to, some weren't. And then they started playing with injury, and that kind of take them away from how they should have performed or how they are capable of performing.
Okay. Before I bring on Rudy and just to ask you a question or two, and I know you have to run off soon. There are those who, and as I mean, there are critics, okay? And I know, Obi, you don't be bothered by critics. In fact, sometimes you are inspired. I follow you a lot. You're inspired, But who will say, you know, these girls have to play more local tournaments, but there is a saying, if you're playing among your peers every time, you wouldn't improve, you wouldn't see the improvement. The only how you can see that is when you played against, the competitors who are above you, okay? So, for example, the Jamaicans will play their test, they will go against New Zealand and Australia and England. Playing again among themselves won't improve them, okay? But when you were coach of Grenada, you saw it fit to take the girls to play against, other rivals, and especially those who are ranked above them in particular, that you can gauge their improvement, gauge their performance, gauge strengths and weaknesses and things like that. So how do you put these critics to rest when it comes to those aspects?
Well, if they look at the game on netball, they will see how dynamic it is. Every team, even in the Caribbean, have their different style of play. So when you get them to play against other teams, whether they are rank above them or rank below, they're going to give Grenada a different style. So you have to be able to adjust to the different style. So that's why it's important to go out to try to get competition. Um, we try to do that. I try to, assimilate as much as possible. And I'll give you an example. When we were going to the Europe tour in England, I knew it was going to be cold because it's Newcastle and it is cold. Something that Grenada, most of the players would not have been accustomed to. The only person at that time would have been Cato,
Right.
Letitia Cato, Timmy. So she would have been the only one who would have been accustomed or been, acquainted to that. So we had to go. I had to take them in the morning early, like 4 or 5, up at this place called
Granny Tang?
Granatang, exactly, and get them there, having them not to wear any like sweat tops, but just wear their tank top to get them acquainted to run in the very cold air. Because that's like a very cold area in Grenada. And we had to go there very early just to get them acclimatized because I wanted them to know that, hey, I don't want when we get to England, we're like shell shocked. Oh, coach, I can't breathe my throat because I've been there, done that. So it is important. Unfortunately, Grenada doesn't have an indoor facility because when we went to England, everyone was very nice to us and was wanted to invite us. Who didn't want to invite wanted to come to Grenada, and unfortunately, we couldn't host them because these competitions are required to play indoor, and more so because it rains a lot, and you can't tell when it's gonna rain in Grenada. So we missed out on a lot where that is concerned. But then we still try to put ourselves together for them to understand that this is a different style, this it requires different things, and these are what the top team does.
Mhm.
And
And
so
mhm.
we need, like I always say, if we did a lot of things to get ourselves ready to go to those tours. And we got as much as we could from the government. But if these girls can get more, if when we there and there are times when it rains and we cannot have a full session because of the rain, we have to go either to the youth center, which of course is very small. So I have to kind of like improvise, do different things to make sure that we don't miss a training day because missing a training day is like being 2 steps behind. So all of that you have to factor in. So as one person said, they thought we travel too much. No, it's not traveling. It's
Yeah,
about getting the exposure
the
so that
exposure.
when you get here, you're not shell shocked.
Mhm. Rudian, good afternoon. Coach Obi has to leave us because she has to
Yes,
pick up the
yes, yes.
important role as commentator. Rudian, any comments here for Obi, Coach Obi?
Yes, hey coach, how you doing? Um,
I'm doing
just
good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Just a few things I wanted. I had two questions I wanted to ask, um, and two comments in terms of what you just said. Michael asked about the men coaching. We're seeing a change now in the professionals where in football, NFL, we have women coaches now. And also in basketball, you're seeing in the NBA, you're seeing women's coaches as well. So times are changing. So that's a good thing to see. Men is stepping up and coaching and being a part of a women's sport in a sense, right? And you mentioned about in terms of the weather in Grenada, something we've been talking about for a while is trying to get an indoor facility. Really hoping that will come soon. I think that will be one of the biggest thing is on topic now to get in the facility, because they had the plan, they even had the location, so everything is in place. It's just working with the government to get it done. Besides Jamaica, who is the other Caribbean island you see that's upcoming? Besides Jamaica, that's one question. And as a tournament as this, you mentioned that a lot of teams or other islands coming in, and some of the rules they don't know. And do you think that they should be stepping up the game or know before they come, or if it's something that when you play local netball, you have the local rules, but when you're getting ready for international, there's a total different rules in terms of how things go. So you think that the Caribbean should look into changing the way they do everything? Everything should be on one level, one rule, so that regardless of someone make a team, they should know.
As far as I know, all rules are just one rule. There are
Okay.
no rules for the Caribbean or your particular country. We all play under one INF rule. So here in Jamaica, we have the international rule. That's the rule we play under. We use the same substitution, the same thing. The only rule that is a bit tweaked is the Suncorp League in Australia. That
Okay.
they tweak that you can call a timeout, and there are certain things you can do. But when it comes to international netball, which this is, we're all under the same roof.
Same banner.
So
Yeah.
it's really only one rule. Yes. So each team needs to get into understanding the rule. They need to be able to do whatever test is there as the umpire to get that done. And I know this past administration for the AFNA, they have done that. I remember when I was coaching Grenada, we did a three test series. We did a series with St. Vincent. We did invite St. Vincent for a series, and we had our tester Yvette Smith, who is from Jamaica. She actually came to Grenada and tested a few umpires. So we all should be under the same rule. So they should not be coming to this tournament not
Coming to this
knowing the
tournament
rule,
and not
because it's
ready.
the same rule that
Yeah.
should be played
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
country.
Yeah. No, most
So that is
definitely.
something the coaches
And
and the umpire in that area, and if they need help, they know they can get help. They
yeah.
can get
Yeah.
help.
And just
Um,
before you go to one
okay.
question, who is the upcoming team in the Caribbean besides Jamaica that is upcoming that you think that um shining bright?
Probably could rival
Well,
Jamaica.
apart from Barbados and Trinidad, who I believe should always be up there because they have had the exposure and they have
Yeah.
done some great things. They have a bit drop off form, so they really need to get back up there. Um, when I look at St. Vincent, for a while, St. Vincent was, really not there, but they look a team. They look the part of a team, and if Grenada will be careful tonight, they will beat them
Yeah.
if they don't come in the A game, because they
Okay.
did give Barbados a run. I think the combination with St. Vincent after a while and how they played the game kind of took them out of it, and Barbados was able to dominate. But they're a team that I think look different and look at such semblance of what they had when I played. Because
Mhm,
when I played, St. Vincent was a team that was not a walkover.
mhm.
Um,
Finally,
came and look
oh,
different.
mhm.
Came and look different.
Cayman
They're
Islands.
still down there, but they have made some strides somewhat.
Mhm.
Okay.
Coach, finally, you think we are playing enough netball on the local level in the various islands? I know in Jamaica they play quite a bit of netball, and they even go into the Fast Five and all these other various, well, the T20 of netball, as we'll say, But what's about more local netball being played, even
Yes.
from the primary schools, for example?
You gotta start from the lower part, the high school. You got to get them involved. You have to have a league. We have league in primary school, prep school, then high school, then college, then club league. So there's league on every level. I'm not talking about one or two teams. I'm
Mhm.
talking about tons of teams. The club level, like we have different level: junior league, junior league, intermediate A, intermediate B, senior league A, super league, that kind of thing. and it's not one or two teams. You have teams that you can make 2 rounds, or everybody play each other, or 2 groups. So yes, each country need to have. I mean, I know we don't have a lot of players, but for them to get that exposure and get comfortable, they have to play the sport more often. This can't be it for them. This cannot be it for them. And again, on our side, on the AFNA side or the Caribbean side, we need to have this tournament of this magnitude more often. We usually have it every year. So that needs to come back and have that tournament every year, because they have to get to the level where they want to compete and it's burning inside of them. They come to this tour every year and they get beaten. What you gonna do next when you come back to the next tournament? What to work? So they have a benchmark right now, seeing what they just experienced. So I hope they'll take from that, go home, do some work, and get ready for the next one, which I hope is soon.
So, well,
Just one more question,
you're on the technical team, so I assume that will be part of the recommendations. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, you're saying, Rudy.
I just have one more question. Do you see netball in the Olympics? You see there's a pathway for that happening?
Yes, and we're making so much strides. So I hope one day it will happen. Yes. I think we have it. We have what it takes. The game is more exciting now. I think if you notice, the umpires are allowing the players to play, not many whistle. So that's part of it too. And it being a bit more entertaining. It is entertaining, but and you want all the teams involved.
And seeing that the US will be hosting an Olympics soon and they have a netball team, you think the US maybe could add that in there? I don't think France will, but maybe the US can.
Well, anything for the
That'll be
US.
the perfect timing for a showcase.
Yeah,
Netball
Yeah,
showcase.
I think so.
anything the US believe they can win a medal in, they will probably add it.
Yeah, no.
All right, thank you very much, Coach. We hope probably
Uh,
sometime in the future we can have a full program and talk about more netball, seeing as you're on the technical aspect of it, and we probably can even well, it's next October, I think is the next October is the World Cup, the
World Championship.
World
I
Championship.
think it's
Yeah,
August or sometime in the
yes,
summer.
sometime a couple months away. So we can talk a little more on that and other things. Thank you very much for joining us, Coach Obi.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Thank you.
having me, guys. Have
And
a
I
good
think
one.
Sister Glennis
All
says
right,
good
take care.
afternoon to you as per
Yes.
usual. Yeah, thank you very much.
All
Okay
righty.
then,
Bye
Coach Obi.
bye.
Thank you very much. All right, bye.
Okay. Bye.
Okay then. So folks, that's Coach Obi. That's Oberon Pitterson-Nattie, former coach of Grenada. And she's speaking to us live from Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica, where she is getting ready. In fact, she's just outside of the venue and she's getting ready to head in to prepare for the commentary for the tournament that is continuing. That's the America's Netball World Qualifier. Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados already qualified. They'll be joining Jamaica in representing the Americas in South Africa for the World Cup. Grenada just, edging out, But nevertheless, hopefully, it's a stepping stone for the Grenadians. We are really hoping that they will make it this time around. But, better luck next time, as we'll say. We now move on to our next guest on the program. We'll be talking some volleyball. And, volleyball is a sport that is up and coming. And I say up and coming because it's played in some of the other Caribbean, well, especially in the Oasis, I should say, St. Lucia, Dominica in particular. They play a lot of volleyball. St. Lucia and they have been dominant even in the secondary schools, Woodward Island secondary schools tournament, especially for volleyball. Grenada had a couple upset wins against St. Lucia in recent times, but they have been very dominant. They play a lot of volleyball, and it has to do a lot with the influence of Martinique and Guadeloupe in particular. They play a lot of volleyball, and the players from St. Lucia and Dominica, they also go over to both St. Lucia and to Martinique and Guadeloupe to play in tournaments and things like that. So that's why you find they have been basically waiting. So volleyball is a sport being played in Grenada, particularly in the parish of St. Andrew. I can tell you that. There is Ballers Club, and they have taken their own to organize volleyball, organize a training session among the youngsters, and they have been doing pretty well, I can tell you. But only recently we heard of a women's female. Yeah, why I say women's female? It's a female or women's, right? Yeah, a women's team, a national team, heading off to a volleyball tournament. I'm still waiting to get some information. We saw the photos of the team preparing to leave. We have not heard anything about the team's performance or whether the team is back. I assuming that they are back because it's more than a week now. So certainly there's no tournament like a volleyball tournament in the region that'll be going for more than a week. But I assume they are back, okay? But we haven't heard anything about the performance of the team in that tournament in St. Martin. But nevertheless, I will ask Michell Cadet, who is the head coach of the women's volleyball program at Medgar Evers College in Brooklyn, New York. She recently, assumed that role, and she has been overseeing, the volleyball program, basically rebuilding a volleyball program at the college. And she will also want to talk to us about what are some of the plans that she has that she thinks can assist in the development of the sport in Grenada. Let's say good afternoon to Michell Cadet. Michell, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Right, and it's nice seeing you once again, and thank you for being on the program. It's your debut on the program. But let's talk about volleyball and your involvement of volleyball. And I say involvement because you would have played to be at least being coaching and being the head coach of the women's program at Medgar Evers, by the way, which is the alumni of Medgar Evers College. And by the way, just an extension, Michelle dabbled in a little of everything when it comes to sports. So she is no rookie when it comes to that. She played volleyball. I knew Michelle basically through track and field. She was a field event athlete, the throws and things like that. So reading Michelle's bio, I realized she also did swimming, and she probably will add a couple other things like basketball and things. Yes, Michelle. So tell us your involvement in volleyball in particular.
Well, volleyball wasn't really my first sport, actually. It was track and field at first, and then I went into volleyball in secondary school. With that, I ended up doing it here in New York at Medgar Evers College. It was an experience. Needless to say, you're playing with top schools, some not so top schools, but different tiers, different levels of volleyball. And yeah, it's totally different compared to like playing against Caribbean teams and stuff like that. It's an eye opener, basically.
Yeah. I may have probably omitted that, but I should add that Michelle also attended the St. Joseph Convent in St. George's. So when she said at home and things like that, she referring to back then at the St. Joseph Convent. Okay, so I assume the girls of the St. Joseph Convent, St. George, should be proud of Michelle. So, Michelle, you and by the way, before I continue, thank you, Ray. Ray is just telling me that the Grenada team plays fifth. St. Lucia, the champions, defeating the British Virgin Islands in the final, Antigua third. So I assume that is regarding the volleyball. Thank you very much, Ray, for that bit of information. I was trying to get it from the Volleyball Association, and but thanks, Ray. So let's look at what it is exactly you're doing at Medgar Evers College as it relates to the volleyball program? What's your role and what you're hoping to achieve during your tenure?
Okay, so at first, my original title, I'm the athletic academic counselor. So I oversee all the student athletes who and their grades and help them graduate. I do tutoring and everything. That's my original position. And then in August, my supervisor called me and she was like, I need you to be the head coach of the women's volleyball team. And a little insider, I might be the coach for the men's team. Just but yes. So because I played my 4 years of volleyball, she thought I was the best one to coach the new team, and it's freshmen, straight freshmen.
Well, I was about to say that looking at the roster, and I went through looking at the roster, and I saw is basically a new team you have, I think, except for one senior, one junior. It was, so is that basically like rebuilding a team, rebuilding a program at Medgar College?
Yes, it is. And
how much is a challenge is that for you? I mean, as starting off?
It's not really much of a challenge per se, because what I did was I have some background in education, and then I have some background with volleyball, and then I have some background of working with younger children. So what I did was I basically observed the team on the court, outside the court, and I figured out their learning styles. I also figured out, okay, I have a lot of big personalities so that I have to deal with. So that's basically what I did before I even was like, okay, I could put this person in this position, this person would mesh with that person, and so on and so forth. And then I used some tactics that I learned from playing in Grenada. So I had to bring a touch of Grenada to New York.
And getting on to the business of Grenada, as you referenced Grenada, and by the way, I know even though you brought a touch of Grenada, the experience will be different to the extent that you play and you coach in an indoor facility.
Yeah.
Something we have been talking a lot about in terms of the facilities in Grenada. So there will be a transition of playing from the outdoor, having your knees bruised and things like that. So your elbow bruised and things like that. So to an indoor facility. How do you think your experience or your exploits here in Brooklyn, New York, can assist, or you hoping to assist the folks in Grenada?
Well, that's a tricky question. If they can, because we have the we have the Laborie hardcourt. It's covered. It's not fully indoor per se, but that's where we played for our championship game when I was in Form 4, Form 5. It's convent, and I think each parish should have an indoor facility catered to indoor sports and not just one area. So it will assist with.
But you do know that's a big task. That's a big action for a small country as Grenada, right?
Yeah, I figured, but Laborie is the first start. You could do one more in another, like say for instance, St. Patrick's. You could do one over there. And then you could interchange between the two, because the way things are, you're focusing on, okay, tourism. If you want to have tournaments and stuff like that, you don't want to just have it in one area. And then you have the outdoor. So you could do different tournaments if you have at least one more space. So you could have a concrete tournament where you play on Tantine hard court, you could play on Carnage hard court, and you could play on every hard court there is in Grenada that is not being in use right now, some of them. And then you could have the indoor tournament, so you could do it between the two, and then the championships could be held like different years. It'll be held in the different parishes. You could have the bush tournament where you just you put up volleyball tents on Tantine in Tantine and or in Queens Park or something like that, and you could have 4 tournaments going back to back, and then the winner of each set of games, they play each other until it boils down to just 2. So it has a
I know that when it comes to volleyball, it's considered a very inexpensive sport, and you made reference to, I know they call it the bush tournament, and quote, and some people may not understand what it means by that, but in the simplest form, you can basically play the volleyball on the grass, any patch that is available, and things like that. So so there's the opportunity to develop the sport, right around the country, right? Even in Karakou, without the facility that you're speaking about, the facility could be used probably for hosting of tournaments and things like that. But in terms of, developing the sport, playing the sport at the community level, it can basically be played anywhere. Yeah. I saw that Sister Glennis Roberts put up, we need a program for the beach, Michelle. And it's something that even I think was last week, the Prime Minister made mention of that in the interview regarding, beach volleyball, for example, and to an extent where you can even have it as a tourism product, basically later on. But how you see going forward that we can really structure the development of volleyball in Grenada, starting at the basic level, community level, even at the primary school level, because we don't really have volleyball played at the primary school level. When it comes to the school, it's basically the secondary schools, for example. But how you think we can structure that to ensure that there's a feeder program and that volleyball could be revived in Grenada?
So basically, to introduce it to primary school level, you could do it like how we do it in sports. So when sports time come around, the PE teacher, they could introduce it as a way to giving, your team, your host points, basically. So you could have green host against yellow host, you could have yellow host against red host, and then blue host against, mix it up and then boil it down to one. Also, it's knowing the rules. So it's different rules and regulations for volleyball, and it gets tweaked ever so often. And when it comes to from high school level to college level is a whole different playing field, because certain rules that fly in the high school level, it doesn't fly in the college level. So it's getting to know the rules for every different age groups, having the proper equipment to teach and to have for the athletes and the other the children who are interested in the sport but they don't really want to play it, and so on and so forth.
And there are opportunities available for volleyball players, and I'm talking about scholarships, right? Unlike track and field and basketball, a lot of you will see there are tremendous, as we use a common word in Grenada, opportunities available for volleyball players to gain scholarships, especially in North America.
Yes, there are a lot of scholarships, not just athletic scholarships, but there are also academic scholarships. But with the academic, but with both athletic and academic scholarships, you have to be able to maintain a certain GPA, depending on the division of the college that you're going to attend. So, say for instance, and the academic level of the college. So basically, you have up here you have the junior college, and then you have the senior colleges. You have Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. Division 1 and Division 2 have totally different academic standings to stay on the team and to receive the scholarship. As far as Division 3, it's split in half. So you will have under Division 3, you'll have SUNY and CUNY and all other umbrellas of college standards. And these schools and these programs have also their own stipulations, regulations, rules, and all of that for scholarships. And then you have low tier Division 3 where they can only give academic scholarships to the athletes. Now, nothing's wrong with an academic scholarship because at the end of the day, that's paying for your classes, and it's of a big help. And everyone is literally recruiting for volleyball right now. They're looking for athletes for volleyball right now. And it would be great to see a lot of Grenadian students come into that field.
Well, for those parents and teachers and folks that listening and watching, here is an opportunity. And especially my folks in St. Andrew, there are opportunities available. A lot of recruiting. I know a lot of focus sometimes on track and field, and we have quite a bit of student athletes that are very good in other sporting disciplines, apart from track and field. Be good in volleyball or basketball. And we see that sometimes from the secondary school games, for example, when they participate in the Windward Island secondary school games, they don't go with one athlete that is only good in one particular discipline. You have to be multidiscipline. So you'll find those who play in volleyball, play in basketball. And so here's an opportunity for you. And I'm certain people like Michelle and Joel Phillip and others may have all the information that you need if you want to get those information. So you can always, get in touch with me, and I will probably be able to put you in touch with these folks, whatever information you need regarding that. Rudian, anything for our good friend Michelle?
Hey, Michelle, how you doing?
Hi.
Congratulations on your positions.
Thank
I'm
you.
taking it the next time we talk, you're going to be a track and field coach. So that's a good thing.
Don't push the luck, Rudian.
Just a few things. Do you give scholarships?
At the college, yes, we give academic scholarships.
So you only do academics?
Yes. And what we do here is basically, because it's a commuter school and we're under CUNY, we cannot really push. We're pushing to see if we can give athletic scholarships, but for now it's academic scholarships. And we're the cheapest CUNY college out of all the CUNYs in New York. So.
Obviously, because it's in the hood, Brooklyn.
And just to let y'all know, a lot of Grenadian students pass through here.
Pass through
a lot of them.
College, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a few of them pass through.
No, that is good. And like I said, you have a lot of great ideas that you would like. We would like to see those too, but it's tough to see every parish having a an indoor facility. That is a challenge that we may never see in our lifetime, but we never know. Some things happening, but it's good to see that. Like I said, a lot of things you just have to push in volleyball. Um, and I like the idea, like I said, the push league, which is good because there's open fields out there, and they could just put on a few like out here. We have the beach, and if you walk onto the beach right now, it is because the weather is amazing today and tomorrow, and like for the whole week. So everybody's on the beach now, and there's so many pools up, lots of nets up, playing volleyball on the beach, and maybe something that we should look into in terms of not necessarily saying that that's in the school,
Rudy,
but
and just
yeah,
to interject there, that point you're making there as well, and it's so inexpensive in that you can just go down to one of the stores, pick up the sticks and the
yep,
net and the balls, and you
and that's it.
once you have the rules, you can start
Yeah,
a game, you can start a tournament.
and that's all you need, right? And I think it's because out here they do play it in elementary school. So if we're talking about starting a sport for the next 10 years for Grenada, it has to start like in the grassroots. If it's not something that is grounded into the schools, right? So you start at the grassroots and then you build and build on coming up. And in the future we'll see some great things happening, but we gotta want it. They have to be a foundation towards it. And if they don't have a foundation, then we can talk as much as we want to do and nothing will happen until there is a foundation and it's grounded and it's rooted that we can actually, bread from it. So you're doing good things. It's good that you have the mind for Grenada and for the athletes in Grenada and the opportunities there, and the fact that you also know not only your school but you know other schools that may give scholarships. So you might find an athlete who is really good, and you may not be able to do something for them, but you can pass them on to someone else. So that's a good thing. So just continue on the hard work, continue on what you're doing, and we definitely going to be turning to you.
So as you said that, that's an idea of mine that I would like to assist students who are trying to come up here to further their education. Because of my background in academic counseling, I can guide them to know like which division, what schools, even if they're coming from TAM-CC, a lot of students didn't know that coming from TAM-CC, some of your credits are transferable, you know? I also think that SGU should have an athletic department, but that will be questionable. I don't know,
I say it's challenging, and I say it's challenging because
But Rudian, what is challenging? What she's saying is something we have been talking about for a while, not just SGU, but even
TAM-CC.
TAM-CC,
yeah,
the TM Marshall Community College having, they may have it in name, but having something that is, it is a lone tertiary institution in terms of homegrown. And there's nothing wrong having a strong athletic department, an athletic in the context of not track and field, but a sports department, because we have the problem where a lot of student athletes, and we've seen that year after year, once they finish their fifth form and they head off to the T.A. Marshall Community College, there's probably a 90-10 chance that that's the end of their sporting exploits, because in some instances there isn't a strong structure at the community level. Okay, so except they go in and play football for Paradise or Queens Park Rangers or Hurricane, that's it. That's the end of it. Okay, but if we have a strong structure in terms of TAM-CC, St. George's University, in terms of the touch, even probably pulling in NULO to an extent, having them as tertiary institution and having, competitions among them. There was talk for example, for the T.A. Marshall Community College, the first year students or those within the age competing at the intercall, for example, because it's a, it's an age category. But there are those who have been against it. But it's all about the consensus and structuring the sports to have more competition, especially with the size of Grenada. Okay, we're not Jamaica or Trinidad where you have 4, 5, 6 colleges and things like that. So we just have 1 and 2 to the extent if we consider the St. George's University. So we have to look at how we can structure them and make them being part of it. But
no. But when I say it's a challenge, I say it's a challenge in terms of those who are there don't have the vision. So if they don't have the vision about it, it's a challenge, right? Because they don't have that vision that we have, where it is not only about an academics aspect with those kids, because a lot of athletes, if they are the academics can be 100 times better if they're doing something else that they enjoy. If they play something else they enjoy.
Yes.
So and I like the idea that when in your field of academics only to help students coming up and get the understanding of the different divisions. I went to a Division 1 school. I went to University of Memphis. So I went to a Division 1 school. Yes, I did track, but at the same time, we have to know the difference. We don't always have to come up and have to go to a Division 2 or a junior college. Our students and our students in Grenada is very smart. They can go to a Division 1 school just as much as the kids out here, and they're smarter than those kids out here who's going to Division 1 schools. So we cannot think down of ourselves. We have to be more than just coming up and be the minimum. We can be above too. So I like that, and just continue doing what you're doing and trying to educate our youths that there is more for them out there.
To add to that point that you stated about a lot of students use it as a way, I would like to bring up the topic of mental health and sports.
Please do. Mental health and sports, yeah.
So basically, working at Medgar College, I have a lot of students, like probably 126 plus student athletes to deal with on my lonesome as the academic counselor. And we have students who will be going through it at home, and sports is their outlet.
May I just ask you, do we have any Grenadians in that number that you're giving us there? Just for
they graduated already.
Oh, okay. Just out of concern. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So they use the sports as an outlet, and I think by having a variety of sports other than track and field and probably basketball in Grenada, a lot of students are going to use it as an outlet, because not only it's like you don't want to go, you don't know what's going on at home, and for the coaches, some of them, they don't know their athletes. They don't know their students as PE teachers. That's why in the beginning I said I observed my team, and then I can put 2 and 2 together, and I build their trust so that they can come to speak to me and let me know, like Coach Michelle. Some of them be like, Mom, this is what's going on at home. I don't want to go home. Could we continue practice for a little bit? And I'll be like, okay, we can. And it's to build that trust with them, because I also try to entertain real life situations in practice. So it's like, okay, look, if you do this, you cannot slide with that in the real world. You have to be here on time. If you're trying to find a job, you're going to have to be here on time. It's just like, okay, I am a mentor for a track and field student, and he is a 4.0 student, splendid, but he does not know how to balance real life against sporting life. So I tell him, okay, you have to be here on time. It's not just what you do on the field, it's what you also do outside of the field. So now when you go into work, you have to be there on time. They will give you work to do. but you have to implement what you learned in school into that work, right? And when it comes to the mental health part, he's like, the sports actually helped me because, not everything is going right at home. So that sporting was a getaway for him. And I see that a lot in Grenada, that mental health is a very big issue, and there's not much of an outlet for the younger generation to like go and be like, okay, I'm gonna go play volleyball, or I'm gonna go play basketball, or I'm gonna go, go to the library or something, just to get their mind off of what's going on at home, or if they're being bullied at school, they can use that as a getaway. And it is needed. It's needed.
But knowing that it's needed, do you think that and you probably maybe saying that based on some reaction or whatever it is, but do you think there is the point where folks are willing to speak about mental health? And I know it's mental health and sports, I know we're talking about, but you believe that young people in particular are in a position to speak candidly about mental health? And if so, they have the trust of people that they can speak to. They are trained counselors. I mean, what's the mindset?
So, as far as I know, all the schools in Grenada are supposed to have a counselor on deck. But there is a big trust issue amongst the people of Grenada that needs to be worked on, because it's not like I can confidently go and say, okay, I can speak to this counselor, and then it's like I'm not worried about my business being out there after, because they're going to speak to who and so on. They tell their friend out of confidentiality and confidence, and then it's like, I did not want you to say that, So and in the school here, we have it's like doctors, where you have the doctor-patient confidentiality thing. So we have to agree to that also. Like, we have to do training for it. So we have Title IX training, we have workplace violence training, then I have to go through a different training where it's like, okay, when a student come and speak to you, you can only pass it on to another employee of administration, just in case you're looking for a reference or to send them to someone, But the trust has to be built amongst the people. Otherwise, everybody's going to be going through it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I could just add on that a little bit, Michael. I've been an educator for 17 years, give or take, and I know what you're saying, because I went through it with students for many years, and even now as I'm still coaching, I go through it too, where mental health in sports is a real thing. But you asked the question in terms of them opening up, and I don't think they could do that right now, only because of the trust aspect about it. They a lot of coaches knows what's going on with a lot of kids, because they come to them, they feel comfortable with coaches. They feel comfortable in that area. That I used to have kids who never had breakfast, and they come into a competition. I have kids who the parents have not, like, I mean, if you didn't hear of the story that of my athlete who is at the University of Georgia now, what she's been through to get where she at. It's not an easy task. It is not. So I do understand, and and when they have confidence in you, you also have to have confidence in yourself to either be between you, unless it go beyond you, then you have to have a conversation and say, we need to have a conversation with someone else. But when it comes to you, you have to learn to have that trust. And that's what It is, and one of the things they keep saying to me is the trust. The trust. Some of them, they cannot go to the schools, the teachers, and talk to them because of the same thing. There's a trust thing with them. So they have confidence in their coaches. Someone who they see is there for them, someone they see who they can talk to, and some of them in practice for hours. They don't want to go home. They do not want to go home. And so it's truly, it's a real thing. I'm not only putting it on Grenada, but it's all over. It's all over. But here in the United States and here, there are people in position who are qualified for those things. I have to go to courses as well. Right now, I have to go to courses. Even as a coach with the Canadian, under the Canadian banner, we have coaching classes we have to do. There's stuff that we have to do. So we have to do it. But is it home? Is it in Grenada? Is it in our home? Is it in our school? I never experienced it. So I don't know if it's there now, but I never did.
Oh, so Michelle, do you think, therefore, that the whole issue of mental health and sports in its truest form should be taken seriously, especially in Grenada?
Very seriously. Very, very serious.
And why?
Because looking at the news of like young people committing suicide, and it's like I'm sitting there like, okay, that person probably didn't have an outlet, or they didn't have somebody to talk to, or or they spoke to somebody and then their information just went out there, and it's like, okay, what can I do now? I have nowhere else to get away, So having sports, even if it's not sports, having a main outlet for the youths to like go like the library, or have like a now you have basically we have virtual sporting games like EA Sports.
Yeah, the esports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The esports. You have a cafe where the computer geeks, they could go and play the EA Sports. Like different outlets, tennis, something, because it's sad to see that the youths is like all they could do is sit down and sit. Nothing's wrong with sitting down by the road and being one with nature, but at the same time, it has others who are talented, and it's just wasted,
Yeah. Well, certainly it's an important issue that must be taken seriously, because we have had quite a few of these youngsters who sadly have committed suicide over the past few months. We have been seeing it every so frequent, it's become a common practice now, and there must be cause for concern. And as you say, we can probably use sports to an extent to ensure, and it doesn't always have to be the competitive side of sports, okay? As we will say, sports, and in some extent, physical activity, getting them involved, getting their mind away from such things. As Lennis Roberts is saying, we need to teach them how to cope through different avenues, and different situations as well. It's very important. But on a wrap, Michelle, again, I want to add my bit of congratulations to you. I didn't realize it was, I keep tooting about, volleyball coach, but you had the big distinction of athletic director, and which we know is very important. And as you say, you may be adding the title of men's coach, so you'll be probably head coach of the entire volleyball program at Medgar Evers College. So, the world is at your feet and your fingertips, grabs it. I think you should just move from, and it just shows too that, Michelle, a lot will say, people may say, well, who is Michell Cadet? But then it shows you that you can be nobody and be somebody. You know, that is the thing about it. So if no one knew about Michelle, consider yourself nobody. But now you're a somebody, and that is something that can inspire others. Rudy, you will say, you know.
Definitely, because
yeah.
I can see her moving up and being the dean of that same college. You never know.
Why not? You know.
Never know.
Yeah.
And
So
just the name alone, and you have to also think of what it can do for young girls in Grenada, knowing that a Grenadian reached that far. Not a born American who is a Grenadian, but a born Grenadian. You know, so yeah.
To correct you, I am a born American.
Yeah, she is a born American.
Lord.
She's schooled. Yeah, she actually
But
schooled
you want, but at least you've
yeah.
been home. You want to go home,
Yeah.
so that's
I
good.
mean, majority
And not just school in
was
Grenada to an extent, but she is one who visits Grenada often. And when I say often, I mean I say often because I wanted to make sure it's often, you know, and regular.
yeah. Grenada is home.
Yeah, Grenada is home too.
Of course.
Yeah.
Let me ask one question before you go. It's a challenging question, because of your experience in Grenada and in the United States. Do you think that our students home finish high school too young?
Yes. But there's a but. They finished young, but what if they're sending their children, if the parents are sending their children to the States to study higher level education, they need to make sure they're on top of things with admissions, because admissions would tell them they're going to send them back to high school either for 2 years or a year, and then have them come to college. They have to watch that. They can come in college because the colleges also do college now programs for the high school students.
Yeah.
So they can come to college. Just make sure they don't send them back to high school, because then that's a whole nother.
Because they don't look at your education status. They look at your age.
Yes, they look at
and
your
that's
age.
what we have to be fearful of. It's not the education status, it's the age. And not because we've been here for so many years and we have seen how it works. I just believe that, yes, I've been through the system in Grenada, but just understanding now, because I'm looking at Grenada, what is there for them to do when they finish at 15 or 16? That is just my thing. Now you finish at 18, 19, you're an adult, there's so much you can do. You're going into university, going to college, which is the same thing that is out here. You're more of an independent now.
Yeah.
You can vote, you can do all these different things now. Some of them is teachers and they can't even vote.
So what I would say, if they finish at a young age, they can still go to Time CC and do the 2 years, because Time CC is a junior college. And then they can decide, okay, if I want to travel abroad to finish my studies, then they can. So that gives them that
2 years. The gap,
So, but they have to remember to make sure that their classes, their credits are transferable in whichever college they decide to go to. Or if they decide to stay in Time CC and graduate to get the diploma, the associate's diploma, then their credits will definitely be transferable in all the colleges. So that's certain things that they have to think about.
Okay. I know we're getting ready to wrap up, Michelle, but I want to ask you about especially our high schools in Grenada and the Caribbean. We know in United States, for example, and in Brooklyn, for example, they offer credits at high school, college credits at high school. Do you think it's something that we can also look at regarding some of the high schools in Grenada in terms of preparing some of the students and in some cases our student athletes?
Yes, that's something that should be introduced in secondary schools. Of like, say for instance, you don't have to do it for Form 4, but you could do it Form 5 because you're getting ready to graduate out of secondary school. So, they could do like depending on what they want to study in college. So, say for instance, a young lady wants to study biology in college. She wants to do nursing or something like that. If she is doing biology for CXE, she can do like what it is. They shadow nurses. Like high school, they shadow nurses and stuff at different hospitals, and they get the credit for that to go to college, you know. If somebody want to be in computer information system, or they want to do coding or something like that, they can shadow someone in that field or and get the credit. If they want to do technical drawing or be a technician or something like that, they could get the credit for that because they're on the field, so they could get the credit for field work in a sense. It's like doing theory and practical. You could separate the two.
And would you advise coaches in Grenada in whatever sporting discipline to let their student athletes do the SAT, the SAT, prepare themselves for the SAT?
Yes. Although colleges are now, well, not that I know. Okay, so for CXE subjects, it depends on the school. They accept CXE subjects. So, for instance, I attended St. Francis College. I had to get my CXE subjects translated into credits in order for it to go through at St. Francis. And with Medgar and I believe all the other CUNY colleges, they accept CXE subjects in order to enter. So in that case, it's a 50-50 toss up because now they're trying to, like, schools are trying to incorporate CXE into their acceptance accreditation, but you have to pay an outside source to get it translated into the SAT scores and the Regent scores.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you very much, Michelle. Lots of information indeed, Rudian, and I'm certain that those who looking on, and even some of our coaches and things, will get a new perspective. And again, congratulations to you, Michelle, and we're looking forward to hear more and more of you. We'll be, keep Googling that name and seeing what's the new title has been added, And thank you very much for being on our program, Michelle. All the best.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know you have a game where you're heading to Pennsylvania on Sunday.
Yes, Pennsylvania. Tomorrow we play King's College and Yeshiva University.
Well, that's a tri-series.
Yeah, tri-match. So, and that's another thing. We could have tri-matches in Grenada. Beach volleyball, different age groups. You could do it. We could actually do it. With what we have, we can do it. But yeah, we're headed to PA to play King's College at 12 and Yeshiva at 2 p.m. And yeah.
Well, all the best to you and your girls. I know it's a challenge with basically a new team and building that program, but hopefully that you will see success down the road. Thank you very much, Michelle. We'll keep in touch.
One last thing, if anybody needs assistance with getting information for the children, whether it be for athletics or for academics, if they're trying to come up, reach out to Mr. Michael, and then he'll reach out to me.
Yeah, reach out to Michael. Don't put a Mr. on it. Reach out to Michael, and Michael will reach out to Michelle. Thank you very much, Michelle.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay then, thank you very much. So that's Michell Cadet live in Brooklyn, New York. She is the the head coach of the women's volleyball program at Medgar Evers College, and as we understand, may well be the head coach of the volleyball program, total volleyball program at Medgar Evers College. And and Michelle has been doing a lot as athletic director, and then also as mentor and involved in mental health and sport in particular. Lots of valuable information, Rudian, regarding the mental health and sports. We did our program for all these months, and we never really looked at it in that context in terms of mental health and sports. Very important indeed, right? Because
most definitely.
Yeah,
and it's something that is it's stronger every day. And it's a warning every day because we're seeing a lot of things happening, and not only in sports, but yes, we talk about it. They don't talk about it much in sports, more than just mental health and open, right? But basically in sports, it's something that really needs to be talked about, and especially for our young lads in Grenada, it's something that really want to see they put more into and more time into, and do talk about it because it's something that is very important, and it is hurting our young ones. It is truly hurting our young ones because they're going through a lot. They go through a lot and they use sports for it. And like we always said, we never had to go through that growing up. We never had to think like that. We never did because we had so much things we were doing. We were so much happy. Some people, I hear someone said, and it's to me it's such a true fact. They never thought they were poor because they never think about it growing up. They never had to think about that. They never think about I'm poor. They just enjoy life growing up. And a lot of us go through that. We never millionaires. Our parents sometimes was struggling, and some people still do.
Well, you say we are never millionaires. We are still not millionaires.
No,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying. But we never had to think about that. So some people they never realized they were poor. As kids, they never realized their parents still try and find some food for them. They know I only have one shoes. They know I only have one pants. They know I only have one shirt. But they never think about it as today's kids. As the mindset
in that
today,
context, we never,
in that context. In that context. So, we're in a different generation where things are different. Things are different. So, certain things that we have to look into now, like mental health, is a key thing in sports, and something that we really should.
I'm glad you say that because there was a time when if you have a cell phone or if you have a television, you're considered rich.
Yeah.
Right? No, if you have a cell phone and a TV, you're still poor. Right? You can still be poor. Right? having a cell phone, having a TV doesn't really make you rich.
No.
You can poor and still have a cell phone, and and you could have by the way, you could have $1,000 in the bank as savings, and you're still poor. It doesn't really mean much, And
even today, look at people today. I'll be talking. Somebody could be driving a Rolls Royce, and it doesn't mean they have money. They know you can get credit. It's not really your money. It's credit. It's not your money. You drive an expensive car. It's on credit. It's not you have this in your bank account, so you live in large. And that's just what it is, right? So, but we really hope that things can go. It's something that the Ministry of Sports may have to really look into. Mental health, maybe bringing in some people in different schools and maybe talking about it. And that could be something. It's a step way.
Yeah,
it's a step way, So
all right. Well, thank you very much, folks. Well, what I can tell you, come next Saturday, God's willing, we will not have an official program, but it's our diaspora program regarding the national policy on sports and physical activity. So all of you in the diaspora who have an interest in sports, it's your opportunity to participate. And I can tell you, for those of you listening, that I have word that both the Prime Minister and the Minister of Sport, they are expected to participate to some extent in that exercise. So they probably may not say anything, but they will be on, observing, listening, and hearing what the folks are saying regarding the whole aspect of the policy. Your input on the National Policy on Sports and Physical Education. It's from 2 o'clock Eastern Time on next Saturday, right?
Yep.
So be part of it. I will be, if you need information, any more information, please just send me a message and I'll be able to pass on. I've been trying to send out as much information as possible. If whatever you need, whether you need an updated copy of the policy and you want to go through it, whatever, you may have had it and you misplaced it. And even if you're in Grenada and you want to get a copy of it, just send me a message and I'll be able to pass it on to you on that, because it's a very important document and they need the input from you folks. The invitation is just to be part of that program come next Saturday, God's willing, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's the diaspora consultation with the diaspora on the national policy on sports and physical activity, right? So that's it. Just a bit of housekeeping there. What can I tell you? Well, we started off by talking about cricket, folks. I know I don't want to say too much on it, but hopefully we'll have some discussion probably inside of November on West Indies cricket. Give them some time to get home and settle down, and whatever they have to do, the brainstorming. I think they have to do whatever postmortem or whatever it is on West Indies cricket. We hope to get someone to talk about that. And oh, by the way, hopefully too, the following the diaspora consultation, I think there is some light at the end of the tunnel. We may be speaking about the preparations for Intercall 2023. I had contact with the officials. In fact, they were looking at next Saturday, but because of the consultation, the diaspora consultation, we may have to put it for the following Saturday. So I'll confirm that with you. So we'll be talking about Intercall, preparations for Intercall, what are the new, whatever plans they have for Intercall 2023. We're getting back into full gear now. Theo is saying that I can't wait for Intercall, but we're getting back into full gear. So I guess the discussion will be very interesting to hear what it is we have in store, the days, the program, what we can look forward to. And I know folks, in terms of the fans, the excitement building regarding Intercall 2023, right? Because we have a number of athletes who haven't been able to perform, in its truest form, and all because of, with the teachers' actions a few years ago, and then came COVID. We have nothing to blame this time around. Well, hopefully, I should say, God spare, nothing to bear, because there could be a hurricane, hopefully, there's nothing to blame, and we're full steam ahead for Intercall 2023. There's nothing wrong in thinking positive and preparing for the possibilities, right? Let's just now think about Intercall 2023. Things could happen, but let's be positive. It's going to be a showdown. Yes, Theo, it will be a showdown. Thank you very much, folks, for being part of the program. Always a pleasure, Rudian. I know it's football, college football Saturday again.
I'm going back and watch my games now.
I know. I'm getting ready to get a bite and get some football in. I know the TV is asking me to come across, I think like that. But thank you very much. Always been part of
no problem, man. Have a good one. Thanks again.
All right then. So that's Rudian live in Toronto. Before that, we had Michell Cadet, who was with us from Brooklyn, New York. And even before that, we had Oberon Pitterson-Nattie, former netball coach of Grenada. She was live in Kingston, Jamaica. It's amazing how technology is, that we can just move from one to the next. I'm in Austin, Texas. Michelle is in Brooklyn, New York. Rudian is in Toronto, Canada. And Oberon was live with us from Kingston, Jamaica. And we have a lot of viewers from St. George's, Grenada, and from other parts. What's amazing technology can do. Why can't we just use technology for what it's really worth and how it can enhance so many things. Thank you very much, folks, for being part of the program this week again. You look forward to you joining us next Saturday, God's willing, from 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's 2 o'clock Eastern time. It will be Caribbean time as well, where we'll have another program. And this time, I shouldn't say another program, but this time it will be all about the diaspora consultation. Yes, the diaspora consultation on the national policy on sports and physical activity. Yeah, that's all I like to give it its full name. So I look forward to your participation in it. Again, I'm appealing to you if you need any information regarding the program, particularly, I should say, the document. Please shoot me an email or a message or whatever it is, whatever means you can contact me, and I'll see I get it to you. You can look at the document, what they have as the policy, and what you think you may want to contribute or add to it or modify, whatever it is like that. So I'm looking forward to your participation come next Saturday from 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Until then, I want to wish you a pleasant weekend. All the best. God's will.